Welcome to the introduction to Hops and Handshakes, a simple little show to meet a handful, more than a handful of business owners here in the West Michigan area, but as well as talk to some significant business people in the marketplace that maybe you could benefit from knowing. And then lastly, we're kind of putting on ourselves to make sure we not only provide value, but talking strategy, life stuff, things that we've learned, things that can help them with their business as we have this conversation. But ideally, make sure that you can take a nugget and apply it to your own life and your own business to help you out. So,
ready to go talk to some people?
Sure, let's go, man. We even know.
Are you sitting outside?
Yeah, we're gonna sit outside.
Okay. I think I see a couple tables.
Welcome to episode 2 of Hops and Handshakes. I'm your host, Isaac Oswald, and I am here with Jeff DeLongchamp. Jeff, thanks for taking a moment, time.
Thank you very much.
I would introduce you as a business owner, but I don't know which one to choose. So why don't you give us a quick overview on the life of Jeff and what you've been up to the last handful of years?
Well, as a business owner with many other business owners out there, I started off with maybe one core business and have expanded it into a few other businesses. None are related. It was more for a diversity. But having a successful business does allow you to have the funds necessary also to open other businesses and or invest in other businesses.
Sure.
So when you're talking about my businesses, Election Source, which is a company that manufactures elections products, we run elections and
do you fix elections? Can you figure that part out yet?
No, not yet. But if I could, I'd be a billionaire on a beach somewhere. But
there might be money in that. Yeah.
Yeah, maybe somebody chasing you as well, CIA, FBI.
You might want to move to a separate country very far away after you figure
exactly.
that out. Yeah.
But yeah, so that business is doing very well. It's become a very successful business, which has allowed me to expand into other businesses like brewing, Elk Brewing Company, GR Now. And invest in a lot of other businesses in the Grand Rapids area that I hope will continue to grow.
So here's what's cool to me, and I think it's been lost sight in the business world, or just in as a community as a whole. Is when you started all this, Jeff. When you were 18 years old, how many people did you employ personally?
And when I was 18,
yeah,
that would have been none.
None,
absolutely.
Right. So today, you are 40.
Actually, more like 100 people, employees. We're a little over 100 now between all three companies.
And it wasn't always roses. Still isn't always roses. We'll talk about that in a second. The battle that you've gone through and the things, the challenges that you had, the sacrifices that you made. But do you ever just sit back and look at it like, my gosh, with what we've been able to do with the team that you've developed and stuff like that 100 people have a place to work now that didn't have, that's got to feel pretty good.
It is pretty staggering, and that number ranges too. Some of the businesses we have, like the election business, is cyclical. We added 70 jobs in last year for the election year, just part-time, building equipment, and so on and so forth. But yeah, looking at it, it's very... it's hard to conceptualize that we have that many people actually working for us at this moment, and it's going to get bigger. The way things are looking right now, the growth is going to continue.
But I think that gets lost sight into where a business owner faces a lot of headwinds. Many headwinds are faced that maybe aren't even really talked about. I mean, I think with the clients that we have and the people that I deal with, the mentors I have, I can tell you that they feel that there's more people coming at them than there is like in their court helping them out, right? So with that said, I don't think we value the sacrifices that people like yourself make because you've created a local job. The people that work for you, you know their name. They're not a number. They're not that. And I think that's a pretty special, pretty cool thing to do for the community that you've lived in for a long time.
Sure.
So I just, fellow business owner, I think that gets lost, and the community appreciates that. We can have some beer to that, can't we? A little hot to that, I think so.
Sure, absolutely.
We'll cheers after, and then we'll do it again. Okay. When did you start Election Source?
So, Election Source is approximately 16 years old at this point. So it's been around for quite some time.
2001?
Yeah,
2000?
exactly.
All right.
2001. The company itself, we started to conceptualize it in '99, and I wasn't on board at that time. I had couple other small companies going that actually blended well with the election source. It was called Miller Consultations and Elections at that time. I had a partner. He wanted to buy out in 5 years, so we did that. He wanted to retire, and then I changed the name to Election Source, and it grew.
That's right.
Pretty large at that time. It just keeps growing.
Sure. Now talk about that though. Like, I mean, we've shared battle stories.
Sure.
Hell, I met you. God, I think I might have met you the evening, or at least the day after I decided to say bye to corporate America.
Yeah, exactly.
Right? And I met you before that and after that, and we've shared, and we've talked about how if you want something, there's a price that you have to pay, and it's not sexy. It's not fun. It doesn't show up in the Instagram stories as much as it should. But so talk about the early years, and obviously you've had sustainable success. But let's back off. I don't think it was a straight line.
No, absolutely not. When we first started, you were working 80, 100 hours.
Jeff, hold on 1 second. Will you please pan over here? This man, it is 12 degrees outside, and he is wearing shorts. That tells you that we are in Michigan. If I was half the man that guy was, I tell you what. We gotta buy him here. All right, I digress. Okay, sorry, go back. The early days.
Yeah, early days. So you're working 80 to 100 hours a week. At first, I started at my home, and to be honest, at the time I was going through a divorce, so I ended up moving.
Fun.
Yeah, it wasn't that fun. And I actually had to move, and instead of getting an apartment initially, I got a small office and lived in the office as well. And for probably 6 to 8 months until I could actually afford to actually have another place at that point too. But that also afforded me to work, basically 100 hours a week, because I just wake up and start working again, and I would work till the middle of the night and continue to move.
Certainly minimizes distractions, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
You didn't have any money to do anything.
They couldn't do anything anyway. Yeah,
so.
Exactly. I mean, so this was, and then when did you feel like? Talk to me like the first big breakthrough.
Well, I think for the elections company, the first big breakthrough was the 2000 election, where everybody's heard of the pregnant Chads and so forth, where Gore and Bush were going against each other, and that election actually allowed the federal government to allocate about $3.4 billion for new elections equipment and supplies.
Okay.
So that was
freed up some capital for businesses
we got a small portion of that, but the fact that that money came into the state of Michigan, and we were able to put our machines out there, and everybody had money, which was pretty much unheard of in the elections industry or government. That was our biggest break. But there's a lot of other reasons too. Hard work, being tenacious, really caring about our clients, understanding and fulfilling their needs, finding out what not only what their needs were, but what pains them. How can we make it work better, and then providing services and products that fill that need.
Well, it's when you're building and scaling, growing a business like you had, and I just said it, there's parts of it you can scale, all right? So operationally working your butt off to say, okay, we're making this mistake, but how do we build a system, which takes extra time in the short term, but how do we build a system to where we're better and sustainable in the long term? So it's not only building what's scalable and focusing on that, but it's also really hustling in the area of what's not scalable. And you can't scale carry. Right? You can't it's a one-on-one feeling. It's why you still are outside sales driven in a lot of what you do, because you cannot replace that, right? So as many systems and stuff like that, businesses and boxes that there are, there's still nothing that replaces. You know what? That person and that business just cares more about me, and that always wins. That always wins. So I think it's in your process. I've watched you go from we can scale this, but this still can't be. We still need this part because that's the human element, and that drives everything.
And that's, that just goes to show, if you call a lot of companies right now, you'll get the automated voice, for instance. Or you get stuck into, I want to call it, the phone purgatory, basically. You can't get out to wherever you need to. That was one thing that initially I told my staff, no matter how big we get, there's always going to be a live person to answer the phone, and they're going to figure out where that customer needs to go and gets the help, because as you and I know, of dealing with other companies, all of us have, if you call it a cable company or something, you can get stuck in that phone purgatory forever and be on the phone for hours waiting for somebody or trying to figure out. And that was one thing I refused to have happen to my customers, where our competitors are like that. They, it's not that easy to get a hold of them.
In any business, and I'm going to piggyback on that, in any business, it's very easy. You're going to mess up. Okay, there's going to be a mistake. It is what it is. It's human. Business is run by humans. It's going to happen. You are actually, and I remember somebody telling me this. I got to figure out who told me this or where I read it. Many things many years ago. But people actually trust the person that screws up and then makes it better, really well, really answering the phone, being attentive, saying hey, and handles it in an amount of time, it makes it easy. They actually trust that person more who screwed up than the person that never screwed up in the first place, because it's human to mess up. The big determining factor of who you are as a business and what you stand for is what do you do when shit hits the fan and you need to do it.
Exactly. And everybody messes up, and it's how you handle it. When we mess up, first of all, you've got to admit to your mistake. To the customer. Which can be completely hard.
Yeah.
But then you have, not only do you admit to it, you have a solution in hand of how you fix the mistake, right, and how it's going to work for them, and how you're going to implement it, so that they know everything that's going on. Not only you're taking care of the problem that you may have caused, you're taking care of the customer, and you're making sure everything is done correctly. And we've, again, our competitors that we've seen, where they've tried to do that, but then they charge the customer on top of it. It's crazy, but if we make a mistake, which we've had big mistakes in the past, we admit to it, we fix it, solve the issue, and we get them back on the right road immediately.
If you care and you stay in the game long enough, you can beat the people that focus on short-term market.
Oh yeah,
right?
Absolutely. Yeah.
But you have to care, and you have to be able to stay in the game, right? I'm going to change the topic a little bit here. So, one lesson after the years in business you've been in, one lesson that is just ringing in your head that people that are in business or in sales, or people that are trying to grow here in 2017 as it's early in the year.
Sure.
What would you tell them? If you had 30 seconds to talk to them, what would you say?
Well, and the biggest thing, I think a lot of people that get into business or have businesses, whether it be real estate or so forth, they tend to not understand exactly what it takes to, how hard the work is. It's gonna be harder than anything you've ever done. You're in any job you've ever had, because you're working for something that is for yourself and not for anybody else. And you have to be completely tenacious with it. You cannot stop. You have to continue on, no matter how rough the road gets. That the difference between those that make it and those that don't, the ones that make it don't quit. You can't quit. You may fail multiple times, but you got to keep trying until you actually find that winning.
That's interesting. So the definition of failure, right? And you said you have to fail several times, and I would admit, I've failed plenty of times. But I think it's how we assess it. I think it's how. Is it a failure, or is it a missed shot to where you shoot again? So part of the thing is I've been taught is, you're going to fail. Just try not to fail to where you completely bankrupt yourself for 5 years.
Absolutely.
And then you're out of the game.
Yeah.
right? So fail fast, fail quick, make it happen, be after. So there's a speed complex.
So there is. You still got to be. You got to be a risk taker,
sure.
But you have to be. It's got to be not everything is going to be. I'm going to say easy to understand. It's got to. If you do tend to fail, you just got. I don't know where I was going with that one actually. Sorry.
No, I'm with you. No,
yeah.
I get what you. But I think it's a matter of how you associate what happens. So. But your loss, right? If let's say it's just you messed something up, you had this going, you had time, dollars invested in it, and it didn't go well. I think people see that as a dam versus than just a stepping stone hurdle.
And it should be just a stepping stone. You've got like I said, you've got to be tenacious. You've got to take the risk, but an educated conservative risk is still a risk. Sometimes they pan out, sometimes they don't. The ones that don't pan out, you just hope you try to mitigate the loss and try to keep it to a certain amount so that you can still continue in business. You can't have loss after loss after loss. You've got to learn from that mistake and then not do it again. And figure out what the issue is. Because people that if you have mistake after mistake, obviously you're going to be out of business. And some companies do that. They just can't learn from their mistakes.
Sure.
And so every mistake or loss you have is a good way to learn what the next step for you is going to be in the process. And that's the other thing too. You just can never stop learning. I learn stuff every single week. I mean, it's unbelievable how much I think I know, but how much I really don't know when it regards to business, tax laws. Just in general, there's just so much. And having a good staff, or maybe not staff also too, but a good support group, other business owners, leaders. That have been through the trials and tribulations that maybe you and I haven't seen yet,
right.
Whether they be growth factors and so forth, mentors. I mean, they can help you steer you through that rough section. For those of you that starting new businesses and young, a mentor that has a business is going to help you 10 times more than anybody else.
You've talked about that before. I mean, if you had to go back and starting at that, you would have found a couple more mentors. And it's so funny how it's like what you feel is like this avalanche you're trying to get through or trying to walk over, they feel is like you're stepping over a pebble. You're like, oh, you just do this.
Oh, yeah.
And a lot of the time you already know what it is, but then you just kind of need somebody that's been there and done that with that perspective in order to do it.
Absolutely.
All right, Jeff. So we've learned about you and what you've been up to, and probably the future things you're going to be doing as well. You've given us some tips about how to operate our life and how to operate a business. Now here's the last question I have for you. The people that are in high school or in college who have dreams, hopes, aspirations, what is your advice to them?
Nope. First of all, work at a small local company and learn how that business operates. If there's a good owner, you can become a mentor, and he'll teach you a lot of what you might need to know much faster than you learn in any business classes that you end up taking, just because they've done it and they've been through it. That would be number one. And the other thing is just be tenacious, never quit. If you've got a good idea, or if you want to be a business owner, it may take a few different ideas or different businesses you have to start. I mean, people can start franchises, they can start a lot of different types of companies. But if you're young, if you're a high schooler or college, I'd say the biggest piece of advice I could give you is work for a small enough business where you can learn the ins and outs from that owner already of how they start their business, and find some good mentors, whether it be through the Chamber of Commerce or some kind of business guild or something where you can go and learn from other business leaders.
I completely agree with that. I'm going to piggyback on that. Is you have to be open to what is done, right? You have to be very open-minded as you're doing this too. If you're in the younger part of the generation and you're going to work with somebody that's 45, 50, 55, or even 35, whatever, is older than you are that runs a business, the way they built it and what was required of successful building of relationships then differed than what it is today. So you do understand some ways of communicating that maybe that person doesn't do. But the fundamental root of building the business that the person already has done, you can learn a lot more from them if you're able to open up your mind and be like, we have clients that still use fax machine.
Yeah.
And I'm telling you, like, I can critique that and say you should use your phone, but they got a couple zeros on the end of their revenue versus mine. So, hey, that works for them too. So, one size does not fit all. Go local company. I love that idea, but then be open-minded too. Stuff in a classroom, you can't.
No, you have to be. You can't tell that business owner how to do things. But like you said, they're going to teach you a lot of the fundamentals. You may have great ideys, for today's technology, because they might be a younger person.
Helpful to them.
Yeah, exactly. Where you might be able to help and say, hey, why don't you try this? And if they're a good business owner, they'll listen to what you have to say as well. Because I think most business owners are open to, how can I make my business better? How can I expand it? What can I do to help my customers? And with today's technology, with social media and blogging and so forth, most business owners over the age of 50 have a difficult time with that because it's not a
everything was this.
Yeah, everything was first person. And even in my business now that I deal with, almost all my clients on the election side are older, and they still require a person-to-person contact.
Heavy hand-holding and test.
We cannot
sever that.
Yep, we can't get. We still to this day we can't get away from that. Other types of things, other types of businesses don't require that now. You can do a lot more through social media.
For any business, it depends on who's writing the check at the other end, who's making the buying decision. You communicate. You do whatever they want. If they want to meet you at Wendy's because they like Frosties and they're going to be a good deal for you. Sure. You're going to meet them at Wendy's. If they want a fax machine, then I guess we have to figure out if eFax is still in business, right? Or whatever. Exactly. It is what it is, so it's up to them. But anyway, Jeff. Oh, again, and I forgot to mention in the early game, we actually are at Elk Brewing. Elk Brewery. And this is one of two locations. We're at the 700 Dwell-Fee location. I got that right. I get these streets mixed up.
Yep, that's right.
Okay. All right. And then the other one, I don't know the address, but it's right by the ballpark.
It's 400 Dodge. Yep, kitty corner from the ballpark with the full restaurant and menu.
Perfect establishment for adult sodas. Anyway, thanks for taking a few minutes.
You're welcome.
Pleasure.
Thank you, Isaac.
All right. Take care. Thank you very much.